All right, let's just dive right in. The hype around AI in software development is, well, it's impossible to ignore, right? We keep hearing it's a revolution, a total game changer that's going to redefine how we build, well, everything. But if you look past the headlines, what's really happening on the ground? Is AI actually making developers more productive, or is the story just a little more complicated than that?
Well, if you just look at the raw numbers from a big McKinsey study, the promise looks absolutely real. The main takeaway is that with these new generative AI tools, developers can get certain coding tasks done up to twice as fast. A 2x speed boost. I mean, that is the kind of leap in productivity that every tech leader dreams about. So you're probably wondering, where are these massive gains coming from? This chart breaks it all down, and it's pretty interesting to see where the biggest jumps are. The number one spot, documenting code, the tedious stuff, is a full 50% faster. Generating new code from scratch gets a 45% boost, and refactoring or just cleaning up old code is about 35% quicker. On paper, it looks like a total slam dunk for speed.
But here's where things get tricky. Is faster really the same thing as more productive? Because if you ask developers themselves, the answer you get is a lot more nuanced than anything you can measure with a stopwatch. And this right here is the heart of the productivity paradox.
This brings us to a major study called Beyond the Commit, which surveyed almost 3,000 developers to get a sense of the real-world impact of these AI coding tools. And what they uncovered was this really fascinating contradiction between how developers feel about the tools and how much time they're actually saving. And here's where that disconnect just slaps you in the face. On one hand, a huge 86% of developers say they're satisfied with AI tools like GitHub Copilot. They actually like using them. But then, on the other hand, 60%, a clear majority, say they save less than 1 hour a week. So, wait, they feel great, but they're not really saving a lot of time? What is going on here? Well, when you actually talk to them, it turns out that true productivity is about so much more than just speed. It's about feeling self-sufficient, not having to constantly ping your colleagues for help. It's about reducing that mental effort so you can stay in the flow. But, and this is the really critical part, it's also about the long game. It's about building your technical skills and having a real sense of ownership over the work you produce. Those are the human things that raw speed metrics just completely miss.
And all of this brings us to the next big evolution. The industry is already moving beyond those simple AI assistants that just suggest the next line of code. Now we're seeing the rise of autonomous AI agents, tools that are designed not just to help you, but to actually collaborate with you and take on entire tasks by themselves.
They're calling this agent-first development, and the idea behind it is simple but really powerful. Instead of you doing the work with the AI's help, you basically delegate the work to the AI. You become the manager. You give the agent a high-level goal, and then it goes off, creates a plan, executes it, and comes back to you with a finished piece of work that you can review. Let's make this real for a second. Take a tool from Amazon called Kiro. It's a perfect example of this structured, agent-first approach. You don't just ask it to build a feature. Nope. You give it a prompt, and it follows this super disciplined 4-step process. First, it generates a formal technical spec. Then it creates a design, then it breaks all that work down into a task list, and only then does the agent actually implement it. The whole thing is designed to be predictable.
So that sounds great, right? A super disciplined AI. But, and you knew a but was coming, giving an AI this much autonomy comes with some pretty significant new risks. When an agent can plan things, access your files, and execute code all on its own, you open up a whole new can of worms, security-wise, that we're just now starting to understand. And this quote from a security researcher, Aaron Portnoy, just nails the feeling of danger here. He says, this new world of AI agents feels like the chaotic early days of the internet, kind of like the Wild West, where everything is fast, unpredictable, and we're all making some really dangerous assumptions based on just blind trust.
And this is not just some theoretical threat. I mean, Google launched its own agent platform called Anti-Gravity, and within 24 hours, researchers found a huge vulnerability. An attacker could sneak a single malicious file into a trusted project. From then on, every time the AI tool opened, it would run harmful commands. And the really scary part? It would stick around even if you completely reinstalled the tool. A stealthy, dangerous backdoor.
So this new landscape is forcing a fundamental choice on all of us. This isn't just about picking a tool anymore. It's about picking a philosophy. The market is basically splitting into two different camps, each with a totally different vision for how we should build software. It's discipline versus velocity.
And you can almost think of these as two different personalities. On one side, you've got the enterprise architect. This is your Amazon Kira. This philosophy is all about process, rules, and building code that's predictable and easy to maintain years from now. Then on the other side, you've got the agile builder. This is represented by a tool like Cursor. This is all about speed, getting in the zone, and just shipping features and iterating faster than everybody else.
And what's really interesting is how these philosophies lead to some very real trade-offs. Kiro, the discipline tool, is basically an AWS Trojan horse, designed to pull you deeper into Amazon's ecosystem. Its AI acts like an enforcer of the rules. The tool is polished, but users say can be, quote, slow as sin. Cursor, on the other hand, the velocity tool, is more of a mercenary. It's cloud agnostic, its AI is a powerful assistant ready to do what you ask. It's fast for sure, but it can also be a little buggy sometimes.
Okay, so we've got these high-level strategic battles happening. But what does all this actually feel like for the developer on the ground, the person who's just trying to get their job done? How does this fight between discipline and velocity affect the actual human in the loop?
This quote from a developer who tested Kitro is just so telling. He says that the rigid, structured process feels like a restrictive, old-school waterfall approach. And here's the biggest problem he found. The spec the AI generates and the actual code it writes quickly start to drift apart. So now you're manually updating stuff, which just adds overhead instead of saving time. The discipline was actually getting in the way.
And that really gets to the core tension of all of this. A perfectly structured process like Kiros can feel rigid and actually make you less productive. But pure, unchained speed can lead to chaos and a messy codebase down the line. And this brings us right back around to those human factors from the beginning. Are these tools going to help us build our expertise over the long term, or will they erode it? Do they give us a sense of ownership, or do they just turn us into prompters?
And that leaves us with the really big question for the entire future of software development. What's the ultimate goal here? Are we trying to build a perfect, autonomous assembly line for code, one where human creativity and ownership are basically engineered out of the process? Or are we trying to build a better partner for human developers, a tool that augments our skills and makes us better at what we do? The tools we're choosing to build today are placing a big bet on one of those two futures.